Just when you thought you could turn your back and walk away, the dark cloud of human indignity follows you. You have no choice but to turn and look it in the eye. It's the sex offender hit list.
Breaking news out of Calhoun County. Sheriff's deputies have arrested a 60-year-old man accused of trying to have sex with a 14-year-old girl. Now, it came as part of an undercover operation Friday. Deputies were working to arrest people using social media to arrange a sexual encounter. Investigators say the 60-year-old man is a volunteer firefighter in Concord. They say he sent nude photos to deputies who posed as a 14-year-old. The suspect came to the home to meet the young teen, and once he figured out law enforcement was involved, he tried to run. His name has not been released.
We have new information on an investigation into a coach at an Osprey martial arts school. That coach found dead inside of his home after taking his own life. Thanks so much for joining us here. I'm Rick Adams.
And I'm Narisa Lamison. It's our other big story. Sarasota County deputies investigating that coach for sexual battery on a 14-year-old student at this gym. Now, the sheriff's office saying they had probable cause to charge Lance Darren Goodall Jr., but by the time they got to his home, they found him dead. ABC 7's Brigham Harris following the story for us, and he's live outside the gym in Osprey with more. Brigham.
Hey guys, yeah, the documents I hold in my hand were sent to ABC 7 by the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. They contain the arrest warrant for Lance Darren Goodall Jr. And although an arrest was never made of Mr. Goodall, his alleged actions are sending shockwaves through the parent community in Sarasota. For years, Venom Fitness Osprey, just off Tamiami Trail, was seen as a highly rated martial arts school. That is until last Friday, when Manatee County Sheriff's deputies found probable cause to arrest gym owner 32-year-old Lance Darren Goodall for sexually exploiting one of his 14-year-old students. But when they arrived, they found Goodall dead inside his home after taking his own life. Eric, a Sarasota County resident, saying he was affected by childhood abuse himself, nearly enrolling his son in the gym not too long ago. Now saying he's thankful for his own good judgment.
I mean, it definitely it hit me like, you know, what if that was my kid?
Law enforcement's findings say the victim's relationship began when they joined the gym back in October of 2021. Goodall requesting sexual favors less than a year later. One local high school football coach says this incident should never have taken place.
To whom much is given, much is required. So how you act, how you carry yourself, even things that you say out of your mouth, those things are important.
Moore is not just a coach, but a parent himself. He says there are things you can do to keep this from happening to your child.
Continue to be involved, to continue to be around, to continue to ask questions, not from a standpoint of being confrontational, but just being around, being aware of the communications between coaches and players, just being an active part of the process. Something
Eric says he will always work to do.
I got to protect my kid, and that's my job. So that's hopefully have that bond with my son where he can tell me anything, you know, without feeling uncomfortable. You know, it's a little uncomfortable sometimes, but, you know, he can trust me. So hopefully I have a relationship. I'm trying to build that with him.
Sarasota County Sheriff's Department is urging anyone with any information or who may have even fallen victim to Goodall to please come forward. We will continue to search for more information from local law enforcement as they say this is an ongoing investigation. Live in Osprey, Brigham Harris, ABC 7, your local station.
A Danville man will spend nearly a decade behind bars after sharing child abuse videos with an undercover officer. William Wolf was sentenced last week to 8.5 years in prison. According to court documents, he started a conversation with the undercover officer online. That's where he sent the officer videos of a child being sexually abused by an adult. Wolf was arrested back in December of 2021.
A Mecosta man is facing child pornography charges following a Michigan State Police investigation into his online activities. This is Robert Michael Phillips. He's 34. He was arrested and charged with first-degree criminal sexual conduct. And wait, there's a lot more. Aggravated child sexual abusive activity, aggravated distributing or promoting of child sexually abusive material, aggravated possession of child sexually abusive material, as well as using a computer to commit a crime. He was arraigned on these in the 77th District Court on Friday, according to the Michigan State Police. Investigators allege Phillips was downloading, viewing, and uploading files of child sexually abusive material on the internet. Michigan State Police Computer Crimes Unit provides resources for parents to talk to their kids about internet safety, and we can all find these online at missingkids.org.
Moving on to Spartanburg, that's where an 18-year-old faces additional sexual conduct with minor charges. Zyron Strobel, this is who you see right here, was arrested back in March, accused of 13 offenses involving sexual abuse with children. After his arrest, a lead investigator believed there were more victims who hadn't come forward yet. Strobel now faces 16 additional sexual conduct with minor charges after investigators say 4 additional victims have since come forward, and they're ranging in ages from 5 to 15. Investigators said their allegations were corroborated both by the examination of digital evidence as well as credible disclosures at the Children's Advocacy Center. He faces 29 charges total. The 16 additional warrants that were served to Strobel were 6 counts of exploitation of a minor, 5 counts of criminal sexual conduct with a minor, 3rd degree, 3 counts of promoting the prostitution of a minor, and 1 count of criminal sexual conduct with a minor in 1st degree, 1 count of disseminating, procuring, or promoting obscenity.
A former South Burlington bus driver admits to sexually abusing young boys. Catherine Huntley joined us live in the studio now. Catherine, what happened in court today?
Well, Christina, Jerry Normandin pleaded guilty to 2 counts of lewd and lascivious conduct with a child and will spend the next 3 years behind bars. I was the only TV news reporter in the courtroom to hear how the survivors in this case were impacted.
Guilty.
Jerry Normandin admitting his guilt in court Monday. Prosecutors say Normandin abused a boy under 13 numerous times in the mid-2000s at Normandin's home in Milton. Years later, they say while driving a school van, he sexually abused a 15-year-old boy with developmental disabilities. Victim statements told Judge Allison Shepard Arms that, among other things, Normandin's abuse created suicidal ideation, depression, and that he destroyed one of the victims' lives.
You have a lifetime sex offender registration requirement, but this thing that you did to both of these people is going to be carried with them for the rest of their lives.
One of the victims spoke in court saying how glad he is that Normandin is going to prison. We are not revealing his identity because he is a victim of sexual abuse. He's in handcuffs because he is incarcerated for an unrelated offense.
I wasn't going to come today. I am only here just to forgive him for what he's done. I don't have any objections to the new agreement, though I do wish he was incarcerated for longer.
According to the plea deal reached with the state, Normandin will serve at least 3 years behind bars.
This sentence is insufficient in terms of addressing the real and lifelong harm that you've caused to both of these people.
Normandin will also be on the sex offender registry for the rest of his life.
I'm extremely sorry for what has happened. I'm just anxious to get this to serve my sentence and to move on with my life.
When Normandin was arrested, the South Burlington School District placed him on administrative leave and say that they perform background checks on all employees, which is legally required by all public and independent schools in Vermont. In the studio, Catherine Huntley, Channel 3 News.
Catherine, thank you.
A man is facing charges of sexual molestation. Evansville police officials say a victim told Holly House officials that Brian Cunningham molested her for 2 years. When confronted by authorities, he said he knew how, quote, all this worked and asked if he was being charged with a sex crime. Cunningham is facing charges of child molestation, child solicitation, and dealing marijuana to a minor. He's being held in the Vanderburgh County Jail without bond.
Let's head over to Carter County, Kentucky. A man was arrested and charged in connection with child sexual abuse material. The Kentucky State Police said on August 21st they received a complaint that Stephen Campbell had been sending improper pictures and messages to a child. Troopers said it was determined that explicit messages and pictures were exchanged between the child and Campbell. Campbell's been charged with unlawful transaction with a minor in the second degree, as well as distribution of obscene matter to minors in the first degree, among a lot of other charges. He was then taken to the Carter County Detention Center, where he's being held with no bond, as it should be. See ya, Chomo.
This morning, a Dothan man already facing dozens of sexual abuse charges was arrested for additional charges. 37-year-old Timothy Lloyd was arrested Monday on 29 charges of sexual abuse of a child less than 12. Last July, Lloyd was charged with 50 sexual abuse or sodomy charges, and his bond then was nearly $2 million. Police say these new charges are related to a second victim, and his bond now stands at $2.815 million.
A Danville man will spend more than 8 years in prison for possession of child pornography. According to the Department of Justice, William Wolf was on the app Kick sharing videos of child abuse. He was reportedly caught after sharing videos with an undercover officer. Wolf pled guilty to the charges.
An Abilene man is behind bars on charges of possession, promotion, and creation of child pornography.
KTAB's Noah McKinney brings us the details, telling us how a tip from a Wisconsin police department led to an investigation and an arrest right here in Abilene. Tonight's top story.
Abilene musician Jason Kyle Kirby was taken into custody on Monday, August 28. Members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation acting on an arrest warrant that came as the result of a federal investigation spanning multiple states. Court documents detail the winding road that led Kirby to be charged with receipt and distribution, possession, and production of child pornography. Those court documents stating that earlier in August, a police department in Wisconsin reached out to the FBI, informing them of a child pornography suspect in their area that had been communicating with someone in the Abilene area through social media. The Wisconsin suspect's computer was found to contain a file bearing the Abilene suspect's web username, a mugshot of Kirby, and many videos of young females who were in the bathroom or being touched inappropriately in their sleep. Given the details of that investigation, a search and arrest warrant was issued on Kirby and his Abilene home. Once inside, Kirby agreed to an interview with the agents. As court documents state, Kirby admitted to having hidden cameras throughout his home, including in the restrooms. He explained that he had been sharing images of his wife on various voyeur websites, doing all of this without her knowledge. When questioned about the minor seen in the earlier photos, Kirby admitted to having sexually abused the minor multiple times and over several years, as well as using the hidden cameras to capture child pornography of that minor. Kirby is now being held without bond at the Taylor County Jail, the judge labeling him a flight risk and, quote, danger to the public. He will remain there until his bond hearing on September 5th at 10 a.m. For BigCountryHomepage.com, I'm Noah McKinney.
Thank you, Noah. Kirby is an Abilene musician and has been part of many local competitions and performances. Given the public nature of his identity and the accusations of crimes against a child, we at KTAB reached out to the Regional Victims Crisis Center for advice for parents who may be having some difficult conversations about concerns of safety and dangers with their children in the coming weeks and months.
There's no way to fully protect our kids from everything that what they're gonna see. So what we want to do is we want to educate them, ask open and honest questions. Ask them, hey, are you aware of what's going on? Are you aware of what's in the news? And just get their input and see what they're having to say about it. And from there, let that lead the conversation.
For any parents looking to discuss these possibly difficult topics, there are resources like the RVCC and RAINN. They provide helpful information and ways to approach that topic tactfully. More on those sources and the details of this developing case can be found on our website, BigCountryHomepage.com.
Behilu Berkey, a 44-year-old of Plano, Texas, was sentenced to 40 years in prison after the jury found him guilty of 3 charges of sexual assault of a child. This is a kind of a strange story. Started overseas, but to begin with, he has sexually abused the victim over the course of 10 years, starting when the victim was just 11 years old and lived in Ethiopia. The abuse continued when the victim moved to Plano, Texas, where she lived from the age of 15 to 18. The abuse continued again until she turned 21, but was living in Tampa, Florida by that time. The victim disclosed the abuse to medical personnel in Tampa at a victims advocacy center when she was 21. It was then reported to the Tampa Police Department, and then they did this huge investigation, and they found that this guy right here, Mr. Behilu Berkey, was the man who did it, went in front of the judge, got sentenced, and he's now in the joint. See ya, Chomo.
A Medford man convicted of raping 2 children for years, recommended to serve 8 life sentences. According to Grant County prosecutors, this man, David Harper, sexually abused 2 girls from 2018 to 2021.
We were thankful to be able to give our victims, help them have a voice in this situation.
Harper was tried and found guilty last week. He'll return to court to be formally sentenced in October.
5 more children in Hamilton County have accused a former elementary school teacher of sexual abuse.
But defense attorneys are now calling for a judge to dismiss an indictment against that teacher. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Josh Rowe.
And I'm Kim Chapman-Whitfield. A former Wallace A. Smith elementary teacher, Dwayne Sanders, was arraigned on new charges, including continuous sexual child abuse and sexual battery this morning.
Sanders received 4 similar charges earlier this year. During a June court hearing, a detective said 12 students accused Sanders of abuse during the last school year alone. News Channel 9's Sam Pena, what we learned about the suspect in the courtroom today and what will come next.
The severity is something this court has never seen. Those are the words of one Hamilton County judge as Dwayne Sanders faces 5 new victims and sexual abuse charges.
They're not going to sexually assault children that don't like them. It's called grooming.
In June, Hamilton County DA Cody Wamp said it was only a matter of time.
This is what sex offenders do.
Until Dwayne Sanders would face more charges.
10 counts in the first indictment, there are 19 in the second indictment.
Now, 5 former students of Sanders. The state says he's sexually abused, bringing the total to 9, and with more possible.
There were more children that made allegations. However, due to the sensitivity of this case, the state did give victims and families opportunities should they decide they did not want to participate.
The new indictment includes the previous victims and charges, leading Sanders' attorney to ask for the first indictment to be dismissed.
If the state can't proceed under both indictments, I'm not sure why they both need to still be active.
Arguing that jurors could accidentally see 29 charges instead of 19.
Whether it's 10 or 19 or 29, that's a lot.
Judge Steelman allowed both indictments to stay while the state works to complete their investigation.
For safety purposes of making sure that nothing is lost or misplaced or anything like that the original indictment stay in place.
Into a case that Steelman says he's never seen before.
I spent 12 years almost in the DA's office and now the year 17 on the bench and haven't had a case like this.
In Chattanooga, Sam Pena, News Channel 9.
Online records show Sanders volunteered at 4 other Hamilton County schools before he became a teacher at Wallace A. Smith.
A Noonan man has been arrested accused of internet sex crimes involving children. We now have video of that arrest. Fox 5's Doug Evans has the story from Coweta County tonight.
Investigators working in the Coweta County Internet Crimes Against Children's Unit got a cyber tip from the GBI about possible sexual abuse materials. They say that tip led to the arrest of Juan Hall Vasquez, a 23-year-old Noonan man. Deputies say they discovered Vasquez had 46 videos of children engaged in sex acts.
They were able to track down the IP address, the address, and the offender in this case, and take out warrants on him, which he was pretty quickly arrested on.
Investigators say after obtaining arrest warrants on 12 counts of felony child exploitation, authorities captured Vasquez when deputies were called to an unrelated event in which he was involved. After learning he had active warrants involving child pornography, deputies transported him to the Coweta County Jail. A judge denied bond in his first court appearance.
The offender's facing multiple charges. The investigation is still going on, and he may have some more charges on him.
Investigators say they now have a search warrant for all of his devices. They'll be doing a forensic analysis of them and say the investigation continues and more charges are possible depending on what they find. I'm Doug Evans, Fox 5 News in Coweta County.
Our next story takes us over to Henderson, North Carolina. The district attorney's office said a man from Henderson County has been sentenced to prison for multiple child sex crimes. According to District Attorney Matthew Murray, in March of 22, the Henderson County Sheriff's Office received several tips for possible sexual abuse material at 32-year-old Dakota James Cook's house. Deputies obtained and executed a search warrant of Cook's home at that time. Officials said a minor also disclosed sexual abuse by Cook, which included providing him with alcohol and marijuana before these sexual occurrences happened. The district attorney also said on August 18th of 23, Cook finally pled guilty to multiple crimes, including 3 counts of statutory rape of a child and statutory sex offense of a child. He then received a minimum sentence of 20 years and a max of 29 years. So much better than a slap on the wrist. Thank you so much.
To that ABC News exclusive, we're hearing from a 6-year-old Hamilton girl who escaped an alleged abduction attempt right in front of her home. The incident was caught on camera, and now she and her parents are speaking out with a message every parent needs to hear. ABC's Ariel Rashif has the latest.
This morning, the chilling moment a little girl fights off an alleged abductor. And for the first time, little Kennedy Nash in her own words.
This guy walked by and he touched me and he pulled me.
The 6-year-old speaking exclusively to ABC News, describing how she narrowly escaped.
How did you get away? I don't know. He just let go of me because I screamed.
The Ohio family surveillance video capturing it all. You can see Kennedy just steps from her front door, taking out the trash. When the stranger appears, police say he suddenly grabbed her, stepped forward, then tried to drag her. Kennedy letting out a piercing scream.
He wouldn't have let go of her if she wouldn't have pulled and screamed like she did.
The man quickly letting go, the whole encounter lasting less than 10 seconds. The distraught little girl running inside for help, her dad Ricky jumping into his car, following the man while on the line with authorities.
I chased him like he still had my kid. Definitely didn't want him to be able to go snatch another kid.
Police arresting 33-year-old Derek McPherson, now charged with abduction and gross sexual imposition.
When the cops put him in handcuffs, it took so much anguish away.
Kennedy shaken but safe.
You lived through this incident, but then when you watched the video, what were your thoughts?
It made me cry.
That has to stop your heart as a parent.
And it's forever etched in our minds, that scream. So that'll always be with us.
The Nashes say they've talked to their 4 girls about how to fight off an attacker, never imagining they'd need to put that lesson into practice.
As parents, you think, my kid's young. I don't know that they're really absorbing what I'm saying, but it turns out Kennedy was listening to you.
Yes, she did. And she used it.
The parents say if not for their 6-year-old's quick action, the outcome would have been much worse.
How proud are you that your 6-year-old had the wherewithal to scream and get herself out of that situation?
I'm so proud of her, because as soon as she screamed, he let go. So obviously, it does work.
That was ABC's Ariel Rashef reporting. Kennedy's parents say they're grateful they were both home at the time. Her mom had just gone inside to put away groceries. They want parents to know this can happen in the blink of an eye.
Now some breaking news. We're following a Cromwell man arrested for trying to meet up with someone he thought was an underage girl.
Channel 3's Stephanie Simone is joining us live on the First Alert desk with those details. Stephanie.
Aaron and Mark, East Haven Police just alerted us about this case about an hour ago, and thanks to some crafty detective work, they arrested 33-year-old Matthew Bissonette. Officers say he thought he was talking with a young girl online, but it was really a detective communicating with him. The conversations turned sexual too, and he tried to meet the officer who was pretending to be the girl at hotels and at his home. That's when investigators arrested him. He is charged with risk of injury to a child and enticing a minor by computer and is being held on a $250,000 bond. Stephanie Simone, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Stephanie.
Begin with continuing coverage. The last of 7 men arrested in an undercover child sex crime operation has been identified. 68-year-old Calvin Velt of Sault Ste. Marie appeared in Marquette County District Court yesterday for arraignment. He was arrested along with 6 other men, all part of an undercover operation in Forsyth Township between August 21st and 23rd. Velt is charged with the same 4 felonies as the other suspects: child sexually abusive activity, accosting a child for immoral purposes, and 2 counts of using a computer to commit a crime. He is scheduled for a preliminary exam on September 14th.
Glen Burnie man is accused of raping a child at an unlicensed daycare his wife operated.
And investigators say she is not the only victim.
WJZ is live at District Court in Glen Burnie. Paul Gessler tells us that's where that daycare owner's husband appeared before a judge today. Paul.
Kelsey, a now 14-year-old girl came forward last month to Annapolis police alleging Roberto Medina repeatedly raped her when she was just 6 years old, and it turns out she's not the only accuser. A district court judge Tuesday ordered Medina held without bond. Roberto Medina appeared by video to his bail review Tuesday at district court. He's accused of repeatedly sexually assaulting 2 children as young as 5 and 6 at the time of the alleged abuse. Prosecutors say the 2 girls, now teenagers, came forward separately. The alleged assaults happened at Medina's wife's daycare at an apartment here on Hilltop Lane between 2013 and 2015. His wife, known as Betty, ran an unlicensed daycare for 16 years, ending in 2019. Charging documents allege Medina took one of the victims into his bedroom, locked the door, where he threatened to hit her with his belt if she resisted. That girl reported to police he assaulted her more than 20 times during the year Medina's wife was her babysitter. When that girl came forward last month, detectives reopened the case in 2019, where court documents show a similar pattern. This girl said she was abused over the course of 3 years, starting when she was just 5. Prosecutors say they have witnesses but did not elaborate further. Detectives say the assaults ended when Medina's wife stopped babysitting. Betty appeared Tuesday in court. The defense attorney said she'll testify in his defense. Outside court, she and other family declined comment. Now, Medina's defense attorney today said that they will produce evidence proving Medina's innocence, like employment records. But Annapolis police are looking for any other children under Betty's care during those 16 years in search of other potential victims. For now, reporting live at 5:30 in Glen Burnie, I'm Paul Gessler for WJZ.
All right, Paul, thank you.
Lucas Charles Wren, a 45-year-old, was arrested Wednesday for alleged crimes reported earlier this year. Police in Stillwater, Minnesota, contacted law enforcement in Sarasota, Florida, to aid in an investigation. The crimes have been reported in multiple locations, and Wren had already been interviewed by detectives in Sarasota. According to an affidavit, the crimes allegedly occurred while the victims were around the ages of 6 to 10 years old. The documents state that when Wren groomed 2 children using similar techniques, he eventually forced the 2 to perform oral sex on him. The details of the affidavit are extremely disturbing. Wren, a divorced 45-year-old, was born in Minnesota and had a daughter of his own, as well as a longtime girlfriend. Investigators are pursuing allegations that he may have been committing sexual abuse while residing in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and criminal charges have been forwarded to the county attorney's office in Minnesota for review. Wren is scheduled to appear for the first time in court on October 20th at 9 a.m., and he has retained his Fifth Amendment right to silence.
A Newton County man will spend the next 5 decades in prison for child sex crimes. Today, a judge sentenced 31-year-old Jonathan Cavett to 25 years on 1 count of first-degree statutory rape and 25 years on 1 count of first-degree statutory sodomy. Those sentences will run consecutively. The charges are from the sexual abuse of a 4-year-old girl who told investigators about the crime back in July of 2018.
Aaron Mershing said very little as a judge read off the new charges he's now facing. On Tuesday, Mershing was arrested and accused of possessing images depicting sexual abuse of children between the ages of 8 and 10. Now he's charged with indecent liberties involving a child under the age of 16.
It's a shock. I'm still in disbelief.
This man, who was in court, asked we not show his face, but says he's known Aaron Mershing for 20 years. He's very aware of Mershing's work as a youth pastor at Thrive Church south of Morganton and as a teacher at New Dimensions Charter School.
I've seen him work with children as a youth pastor for years. Like I said, it's not something that I can fully fathom him being even being capable of.
Thrive Church says Mershing was fired after his arrest. It released a statement today saying, in part, "We are stunned, heartbroken, betrayed, and took immediate action to terminate him days ago when the first charges were filed."
Tonight's Most Wanted failed to register as a sex offender. Fox Carolina's photojournalist Mindy Cecil sat down at the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office for more on the case.
All right, Sheriff, who's tonight's most wanted?
Tonight's most wanted hooligan in Cherokee is William Antonio Oglesby. He's 62 years of age. He is wanted because he's failed to register as a sex offender as required by law. He was required to report twice a year, and in February of this year, he failed to come in and complete his registration. And he is on our sex offender registry in South Carolina as a result of a conviction that occurred in Spartanburg County back in 2017 involving a minor child.
Do we think he's still in Gaffney?
We believe he is bouncing back and forth between Gaffney and maybe the Greenville area. We checked with a former employer. He's no longer employed there. Obviously, he's not at the address that he had on file when he first registered as a sex offender. But we do have some information that he could be in the Greenville area, maybe Spartanburg. So if any of our viewers know where he's at, please contact Crime Stoppers at 188-CRIME-SC.
A man now facing formal charges for multiple child sex crimes. Monday, 45-year-old Mason Caldwell was indicted on 5 counts of sexual assault of a child, 1 count of indecency with a child by contact, and 13 counts of online solicitation of a minor. An investigation was launched after a witness told police about inappropriate messages they saw on Caldwell's phone. Police say they also received a tip about him on their cyber tip line for missing and exploited children. Caldwell said to be back in court Friday.
And now over to Jackson, Florida, where this creepy-looking guy here was jailed under a $1.5 million bond following his arrest on Friday for child sex crimes. This is Thomas Wing II. He's a 49-year-old of Pendleton. He stands charged with 1 count of felony incest of child 13 to 15 years old, 1 count of felony incest, 2 counts of first-degree kidnapping, 1 count felony statutory rape of a child less than 15, 2 counts of a sexual act by a parent custodian, 1 count of felony crime against nature, and 1 count of felony indecent liberties with a child. Wing is scheduled to make his first court appearance on these charges on August 31st in Northampton County Criminal District Court. The arrest warrants, which were obtained Friday, stem from an investigation by Northampton Sheriff Sergeant Jimmy Barmer that began on June 24th. Let's lock this guy up.
A 33-year-old Rockford man is in police custody after he's accused of having sexual contact with a minor.
Police arrested Ricardo Mendez last Thursday after they say they answered calls about him fostering inappropriate contact with a minor. Police say the kid and Mendez know one another. He faces aggravated criminal sexual abuse and is currently in the Winnebago County Jail.
Well, now to a court update out of Hall County as a Grand Island man connected to an area church has pleaded not guilty to multiple sex crimes. Milton Caston Jr. is facing 2 felony first-degree sexual assault charges and 2 third-degree sexual assault misdemeanor charges, stemming from reported incidents from 2018 at a Grand Island church where Caston Jr. is a relative of the pastor. According to court documents, the victims say the assault happened when they were 7 or 8 years old at the church. The case is now in Hall County District Court.
First, our big story tonight at 9, out of a job and into the jail. A now former Racine School District employee in a heap of trouble tonight.
This after prosecutors say he had sex with a student. Our Sam Kramer joins us live tonight in Racine. And Sam, these allegations go back to May.
Well, that's right, Steph, and the investigation actually began in June. Mount Pleasant police say it began with a pickup at a local hotel. Tonight it ends with that now former employee in jail. Just across the street from Case High School in Racine, investigators say the student was sitting beneath a tree near the Delta Hotel after school when 34-year-old Justin Lozama pulled up. She told police that Lozama first checked if she was okay before asking her to get in his car. Despite feeling scared, she says she chose to get in, adding she had nowhere else to go. According to the criminal complaint, the student says they went to Lozama's home where he offered her a marijuana blunt and she smoked it. After that, she says they had sex and fell asleep. The next morning, she says Lozama dropped her off at the hotel instead of Case High School, where he worked as an event staff employee. Investigators say the student believed he did that to, quote, prevent anyone from seeing her with him. Racine County prosecutors charged Lozama with 2 felonies, 1 count of child enticement and 1 count of sexual assault of a student by school staff. In a statement to Fox 6, the Racine Unified School District says Lozama is no longer employed with the district, adding, we recently became aware of the allegations and are supporting the police with their investigation. And this afternoon here at the Racine County Courthouse, a commissioner set Lezama's bond at $50,000 cash. Again, he is being held at the jail, and as part of that bond, he is ordered to have no contact with the victim or any minor. We are live tonight in Racine. Sam Kramer, Fox 6 News.
We will continue following this one. Sam, thank you.
A Rockford man faces charges after police say he had sexual contact with a teenager. This arrest happened last Thursday. Officers reportedly found Ricardo Mendez with the juvenile. Police say Mendez and the victim, who was between the ages of 13 and 17, knew each other. The 33-year-old is charged with aggravated criminal sexual abuse. He was taken to the Winnebago County Jail. He has since bonded out. Mendez is due back in court September 28th.
Here's another story that just makes your gut wrench. Talk about just a slap on the wrist. A former Wichita police officer who was charged with child sex crimes back in 2020, he's been sentenced to probation after pleading guilty to lesser charges. This is Joshua Hageman. He was charged with 2 counts of indecent liberties with a child back in May of 2020. He pleaded guilty before his trial in June to aggravated battery and simple battery. Why the charges were lessened? District Attorney Mark Bennett said cases are reviewed on an ongoing basis. The age of the case, the nature of the allegations, and the quality and nature of the evidence are contributing factors in negotiations. Hageman was sentenced on Thursday to just 24 months of probation with an underlying 13-month prison sentence if he violates the terms of his probation. No sex registry, no nothing for this guy. Unfreaking believable.
Say a man broke into a home and sexually abused a 9-year-old girl. 62-year-old Elton Polium is charged with sodomy, sexual abuse, and burglary. Officers say he broke into a home near 13th and Ali in the Russell neighborhood around 1 this morning. The victim's mother says she left the apartment unlocked and woke up to find alcohol bottles in her home. When she went to check on her 3 children, she says she found Polium with them. She says her daughter was crying and said she had been sexually abused.
An attorney general has announced 2 Low Country men are now facing child sexual abuse material charges.
78-year-old Robert Arthur Petit Sr. from Mount Pleasant and 33-year-old Frank Michael Jones Jr. from Bono are facing charges in unrelated cases. Petit is charged with 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Jones charged with 1 count of the same charge.
Petit worked at Live 5 for 35 years and retired in 2010. Again, these men are arrested on unrelated cases.
Man has been arrested here in the Valley by Metro Police, accused of trying to lure children into a bathroom at a local resort. Police say that this man, Sheldon Barber, tried to get a little boy out of the pool at Grandview Resort near the South Point Hotel and asked him to leave with him. The arrest report also says that he tried to force women to go back to his hotel room. Florida man was released on bail and ordered to stay away from that resort.
An Anderson man is facing child sexual abuse material charges. Attorney General Alan Wilson says Caleb Grant was arrested on 10 charges related to the sexual exploitation of minors. We're told investigators received a cyber tip line report, which led them to Grant. They say he possessed files of child sexual abuse material. Grant was arrested last Thursday. If convicted, he could face up to 10 years in prison on each count.
Over to Ontaga County, Alabama, where a North Alabama man has been arrested and charged in Ontaga County after being indicted by a grand jury on child sex crimes. This is Bruce Wayne Abbott, a 53-year-old of Coleman. He was taken into custody on Thursday afternoon at the Ontaga County Jail and is being held with no bond. Details on the alleged crime are limited, but the indictment charges Abbott with 2 counts of first-degree rape and first-degree sodomy and states that the victim is under the age of 12. Abbott is set to be arraigned in court on August 31st.
Children in South St. Louis finally had his day in court.
5 on Your Side was the only media outlet in the courtroom today for these intense moments when a judge decided whether the man should be released on bond or remain behind bars. And our Christine Byers is here to explain why it's taken weeks for a process after you're arrested that normally takes just a few days. Christine.
Exactly, Ann. So I've been covering public safety in St. Louis for almost 20 years now, and I can tell you I've never seen anything like what I saw in the courtroom today. Bailiffs handed out tissues to several inmates who started crying when they heard the allegations against Haji Gul Asmani.
It began July 23rd when police say this man, Haji Gul Asmani, snatched a 6-year-old boy with special needs off his bike in the alley behind his home and sexually assaulted him. The St. Louis Hills neighborhood, which has more than 100 security cameras, captured images of the suspect. Asmani's boss from the factory where he worked in Fenton recognized him and called police. He was arrested July 28th and also charged with a second attempted attack on a 12-year-old boy. That boy recognized Asmani from the images too and told his parents the same man put him in a headlock while he was playing at Francis Park. Asmani appeared for his first bond hearing July 31st, but court personnel learned he only speaks his native language of Pashto from Afghanistan. Another hearing August 7th was continued so the court could find an interpreter.
If all of that is delayed for 3 weeks, then he has not been apprised of any of those rights, and that is an unreasonable delay.
Retired federal judge and 5 on Your Side legal analyst Nanette Baker says interpreters for legal proceedings must be certified.
So a certified interpreter is sworn, is trained to correctly interpret the proceedings. And so it is critically important that the person who does the interpreting be certified.
Monday afternoon, prosecutors read impact statements to the court from the victim's parents. One of them said Asmani stalked their son until he was away from his friends at the park. The mother of the younger victim told the court her son still wants nothing to do with his new bike. Asmani's attorney said he came to the United States in December of 2021 with his wife and their 4 children. The youngest is 1 year old. He said his client has lived in St. Louis the entire time.
Asmani's attorney also asked the judge to release his client to his brother, who also lives in St. Louis. The attorney said his client's family and other members of the Afghan community were willing to give the court their passports if necessary. The judge denied Asmani's bond, and he'll have another chance to argue for a reduced bond August 29th.
Air Patrol admits to sex crimes against children. James Wentworth pleaded guilty to sexually coercing a child. Prosecutors say the 31-year-old man engaged in multiple sex acts with a minor. Police found emails he used to exchange explicit messages with the child, which included instructions for the minor to delete the emails. His sentencing is set for January.
A man from Denver, North Carolina, was arrested Wednesday on child sexual assault charges, according to the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. Detectives started their investigation into the reported incidents on August 14th of this year. The female victim was interviewed at the Lincoln County Child Advocacy Center concerning the incidents, and charges were filed on Wednesday, officials said. Gregory Clark Ross, a 41-year-old, is charged with 4 counts of statutory sex offense with a child under the age of 15. Ross was placed in the Harbin A. Cruz Detention Center under a $160,000 secured bond. A 35-year-old woman, if you want to call her that, stands accused of sexually abusing a 5-year-old boy and saving a video of the crime on a phone in Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade detectives arrested Ureni Sanchez at 2:30 in the morning on Tuesday after questioning about the crime at the police headquarters in Doral. Sanchez's arrest history in Miami-Dade includes prostitution in 2011, battery and aggravated stalking in 2019, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in 21. For the new case, Sanchez is facing charges of sexual battery on a minor by an adult, which is a non-bondable offense, thankfully, and promoting sexual performance by a child. Miami-Dade County Circuit Court Judge Jody Lean will be presiding over Sanchez's new case in court. Detectives were asking anyone with any information about the case to please call the Miami-Dade County Crime Stoppers.
He has handed up an indictment against a 75-year-old man arrested for kidnapping and sexually assaulting a 5-year-old. 75-year-old Franz Villa lives on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Police say the girl's mother in Queens knew him from prior meetings and asked Villa to watch her as she was busy last week. When Villa disappeared, it set off a citywide search. Villa's being held at Rikers Island on $275,000 bail.
We are hearing from federal prosecutors after a man from Broken Arrow charged with leading an international online child porn enterprise pleaded guilty. Glad you're with us tonight. I'm Sarah Whaley.
And I'm Shay Rozzi. Now, we told you Friday, Cameron McCabe was sentenced to life in prison in an investigation leading to the arrest of dozens of suspected child predators and the rescue of almost 100 children.
Fox 23's John Acebus joins us live with what the U.S. Attorney had to say today.
Well, first of all, this is just the worst of the worst. Anytime children are the victims, it's just sickening. Now, he is said to be the administrator of a group chat where he personally shared pictures of children being sexually abused. On top of that, the U.S. Attorney says he required other members to do the same thing. Cameron McCabe from Broken Arrow will be in prison for the rest of his life after running an international internet child porn ring.
And he required individuals that were sharing pictures of sexually abused children to post pictures of them and their children on a regular basis.
I'm speaking with Clint Johnson, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Oklahoma.
These are crimes that take place in the shadows. These are things that aren't going on. They're taking place in bedrooms, they're taking place in homes, they're taking place in apartments all over the internet.
And all over the world. McCabe's online predator presence reached 4 countries: Australia, Norway, Canada, and the United States. Johnson says he victimized more than 100 children in the process by using an online platform called Kik, where people could share pictures. And McCabe would require other members to submit pictures and proof of abused children to maintain their membership.
They're always challenging because they're dealing with some of the most vulnerable members of our society, children. And these children are constantly re-victimized.
According to federal court documents, he used multiple cameras, including a pen with a hidden camera. Johnson says McCabe will spend life behind bars as investigators hunt down the rest of the predators.
Right now, just this investigation has led us to 47 other subjects who were members of this website in which Mr. McCabe was the administrator.
Now, according to federal court documents, as a part of his plea, he has to forfeit up to 21 items. A lot of that is technology, computer pieces, cameras, and other things that he may have used. When I spoke with Johnson about this, we spoke about the challenges of being able to catch someone and convict them of distributing this kind of child material. It's often very challenging. So to get someone like this is a big deal for cases like these.
Choir leader is behind bars this afternoon, accused of sexually assaulting one of his teenage choir members.
Police say the reported assault happened back in 2021, but the arrest did not come until recently. NBC 7's Sean Delmany spoke to investigators about this troubling case.
When that 15-year-old made her report, investigators say they immediately sprung into action. And now that her alleged assaulter is behind bars, they say they're looking for more survivors.
Lieutenant Carmelin Rivera with SDPD says there were a few things in this investigation that told his team there may be more people they can help.
This person has access or had access to, due to the nature of his position, to other people.
The suspect, 27-year-old Rafael Valentin Magana, was a choir director at Victory Outreach Church in San Isidro. Police report Magana took the 15-year-old survivor to a fellow church member's baby shower back in 2021. Instead of driving the girl back home after the event, police report he drove her to a location in Paradise Hills where he sexually assaulted her in the parked car. Afterwards, he drove her home. The girl didn't report the crime until about 2 years later in March 2023. Lieutenant Rivera calls this delayed reporting and says it's common.
The confluence of factors could be, for example, there is this power dynamic. Someone from the church who's viewed as a person of power, at least a person of influence. Sometimes that makes it more difficult for people to come forward to report something.
Then, last week, San Diego police arrested Magana on East Plaza Boulevard in National City for an active felony arrest warrant, charging him with multiple sex crimes. Magana was booked into San Diego County Jail. NBC 7 reached out to Victory Outreach Church for a statement and did not hear back by our deadline.
Is in Orange County Jail accused of sex crimes against a child. 21-year-old Chandler Pachuca was indicted last week for aggravated sexual assault of a child. Orange County Sheriff's deputies arrested him yesterday. A probable cause affidavit obtained by 12 News reveals the alleged victim was younger than 14 when the abuse happened. Tonight, Pachuca remains in the Orange County Jail. His bond is set at $150,000.
A Villa Rica man is facing several charges of child sexual exploitation. According to Villa Rica police, an investigation into Joaquin Hunt began on August 18th when the Internet Crimes Against Children and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation detectives received a tip that led officials to conduct a search warrant at a home on Hemlock Court in Villa Rica. Officers say they found evidence of child pornography, and Hunt was subsequently arrested. Hunt is charged with 5 counts of computer or electronic pornography and a child exploitation charge. He's also currently behind bars with no bond at the Carroll County Jail.
SD coach was arrested and charged after a student claims that she ignored a report of sexual assault because the suspect is a good athlete. Andrea Lucia shares the allegations today in the news that the coach has since been suspended.
2 days before the start of school at Prosper High, a student said she met with head softball coach Rena Bersosa in her office. According to an affidavit by the district's own police department, the girl reported 3 athletes were sexually abused and raped by another player. The alleged assaults, the district says, occurred off campus during multiple sleepovers this summer. But the student told police when Coach Bersosa found out, she responded, "The suspect is a good player, and they don't want to lose her." She said Bersosa told her to handle this with the suspect and to tell the suspect that if she does not stop committing sexual assault, she'd report it to the coach. Texas law requires anyone at all who believes child abuse is occurring to report it to the authorities. But when it comes to educators and similar trusted professionals, it's even stricter. They have just 48 hours. When questioned, though, Bersosa allegedly told police she was not aware she had to report a third-party allegation.
Any report of child abuse has to be reported, and it's not up to the teachers to assess the credibility of the report.
Attorney Anna Greenberg, who represents abuse victims in civil court, says it's unacceptable to tell a child to handle the situation themselves.
Adults need to be aware of their reporting obligations and to make sure that they speak up and don't try to bury this information.
In a letter to parents, Prosper ISD said it requires employees to undergo training to ensure they know the proper steps to report such cases. In Prosper, Andrea Lucia, CBS News, Texas.
A man is behind bars in North Carolina charged with kidnapping and sex crimes. Police arrested Jose Callahan at a motel in Elizabeth City after learning Saturday that he traveled to the area with a 14-year-old girl who had been reported missing. Investigators from several agencies helped make the arrest. The girl is now back with her family in Moore County. Callahan is in the Albemarle District Jail on charges of kidnapping, statutory rape, and sexual offense of a child.
The mayor, who was arrested just weeks after winning the election, has now pleaded guilty. Corey Jackson has admitted to 3 counts of sending obscene messages without consent, a misdemeanor. Jackson spent just a few weeks as Dillon's mayor in 2019 until he was arrested that May and charged with 11 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Warrants claimed he asked a number of teenage boys for naked pictures through the social media app Snapchat. A judge sentenced Jackson to 3 years in prison, suspended to 5 years probation. He'll also go on the sex offender registry and have no contact with the victims.
Okay, stop the train. Let's get this straight. The man has not 1 but 11 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, all documented by social media. It's a serious crime that has a minimum sentence of 31 to 41 months. That's minimum. For a single incident, he's got 11. Well, as well as 3 years of probation and at least 10 years as a registered sex offender, which means, he should be on the registry for life. It's a cut and dry case, yet these are all dropped and he gets a slap on the wrist with probation. This is why we need to seriously take a hard and very deep look into who we have in office and what kind of laws we can petition so, this just doesn't happen again, because this is insane. A Troy man was arrested following a child sex offense investigation. Daniel Lanfear, a 34-year-old, faces several charges. New York State Police say an investigation began after their Internet Crimes Against Children department received information that Lanfear here sent indecent material to children. Following that investigation, he was arrested and taken to Brunswick State Police for processing on June 29th. Lanfear was arraigned at the Troy City Court and was held in the Rensselaer County Correctional Facility in lieu of a $20,000 cash or a $200,000 partially secured bond. Further investigation found he reportedly had sexual contact with a child under 11 years old and forcibly touched a child under 17. He was arrested again on Tuesday.
My child was already victim number 2, was just a whole nother level of nightmare and fear.
The mother of a little girl recounts the scary situation her daughter escaped from, and it's not entirely happy with how she says the police handled the matter. It was on Friday when a man was arrested, accused of assaulting an 8-year-old girl at a thrift store in Sandusky. And the man was staying at an area homeless shelter as part of a program where the Sandusky police chief is the president of the board. And Terry, the mom realized the suspect in the case was convicted of a similar crime through one of your past stories.
Yes, Angie, we did a story in March 2022 where a man grabbed a young girl and forced her into the bathroom of a Saginaw area theater. And the mother in this most recent case wonders why the leaders of this homeless shelter and affiliated thrift store didn't do a better job of preventing this from allegedly happening again.
And she said that he looked at her, he opened the bathroom door, he looked both ways, and then he grabbed her and started dragging her into the bathroom.
Sydney Kitchen of Snover says that frightening situation happened inside the Hope Thrift store in Sandusky. Kitchen was close by her children inside the store and heard her 6-year-old son yelling about the attack. The girl was able to escape and was not injured. Police arrived and 19-year-old Andrew Jewell was arrested for assault. For Kitchen, her husband, and 2 children, the incident has been a nightmare.
You know, a phrase a lot of people are saying to me is, you know, at least you were able to stop it before anything happened. But that's not true, because my daughter was attacked, and she is going to have to live with this.
Kitchen would later see an online ABC 12 News story from March 2022 where Jewell eventually pled no contest to assault after dragging a young girl into the bathroom of a Saginaw area theater. He was sentenced to 180 days in jail and 2 years probation. Jewell was staying here, a faith-based homeless shelter in Sandusky, and as part of the community service, he was working at the thrift store.
We don't accept sex offenders at this shelter. They knew of a misdemeanor conviction. They didn't know that it involved another forced incident of a young girl into a bathroom.
Jewell was not convicted of a sex crime in the Saginaw County case. Sandusky Police Chief Brett Lester sits on the board of Michigan House of Hope, which oversees the shelter and the store.
We're going to look at everything and sort of see if there's any areas that we could be improving.
Still, Kitchen feels Lester and the manager of the shelter and store, Tom Bowser, a convicted felon, are more in damage control for how this makes their program look instead of giving support to the 8-year-old victim.
To feel like they're on the defense and not supporting my child who is the victim, it's a scary thing. It's a very scary thing.
The whole incident obviously is deeply saddening.
Now, Jewell is still in custody, being held on a $10,000 bond.
Police are warning that a high-risk sex offender is expected to live in Winnipeg after his release from prison today. 46-year-old Winston Thomas is being released after spending 13 months at Headingley Correctional Center for failing to comply with probation. Thomas has a history of sexual and violent offenses. Police are warning women and girls of all ages are at risk. Thomas will be subject to supervised probation.
A former Nebraska State Patrol trooper, already serving 2 prison sentences, was sentenced again Wednesday, August 23rd, to a 3rd lengthy prison term for the 2022 sexual assault of a 15-year-old girl. He has already made his appearance here on the sex offender hit list, but here he is again. This is Brandon Dolezal, a 26-year-old. He pled no contest to 2 counts of first-degree sexual assault on a child and was sentenced to 30 to 50 years in prison by Douglas County District Court Judge Molly Keene. The sentencing hearing came after Dolezal pleaded no contest in June to the 2 charges. In an exchange, prosecutors dismissed 5 other counts. Prosecutors said Dolezal twice sexually assaulted the girl he first met on the social app Snapchat. Both incidents occurred in Dolezal's pickup truck. The Omaha police arrested Dolezal in a parking lot at the Scott Catholic High School where the girl was a student on November 1st, 2022.
You're watching KRQE News 13 at 4.
Good afternoon. A former 2nd grade APS teacher, Danny Aldaz,
is accused of sexually assaulting several children over years. Today's proceedings mark the first accuser's case to move forward to trial. News 13's Chandler Farnsworth has more on how the prosecution and the defense are framing this case to the jury.
In the case against a former APS teacher, prosecutors...
Ladies and gentlemen, we will provide you with more than enough evidence to convict the defendant of these despicable crimes.
And the defense...
You're going to hear her testify about things that happened that other accounts are going to tell you didn't happen. Just didn't.
Each side giving opening statements in a Bernalillo County courtroom today, arguing if Danny Aldez should be convicted. Aldez is facing 5 counts accused of sexually abusing a 7-year-old student at Valle Vista Elementary. Prosecuting for the state, District Attorney Sam Bregman told the jury that Aldez had a closet in his classroom where prosecutors say Aldez abused the victim.
It was in that closet where the defendant committed the crime of criminal sexual penetration of a child under 13.
Aldez's defense suggests that the state won't be able to convince the jury that Aldez is guilty, arguing there's not enough physical evidence or DNA evidence. They also say the victim's accusations are inconsistent.
You won't have any DNA evidence, no photographic evidence of anything that corroborates abuse.
Chandler Farnsworth, KRQE News 13.
That trial expected to last through the week. Aldez was initially facing a 32-count indictment accused of crimes against multiple children. A judge has since split up those cases into different trials.
A custodian at a Colorado Springs middle school was arrested Monday on child sexual assault charges, according to a memo sent to parents and employees by Academy District 20 on Tuesday. The Mountain Ridge Middle School staff member, Jose Garcia, was arrested Monday on at least 1 felony charge of sexual assault on a child. Academy District 20 representatives confirmed that Garcia is on leave and cannot have any contact with any children. According to Colorado Springs Police, none of the currently identified victims are associated with the school Garcia works at, and none of the reported crimes occurred at the school. District representatives said Garcia is a custodian who had been employed in the district schools since 2019. They had no further comment on the pending litigation.
Brandon police have laid more charges against a man already accused of luring and sexually assaulting a teenage girl. Back in May, police allege a suspect started talking to a 15-year-old teen over Snapchat, brought her to his home, and gave her meth. Well, now the same suspect has been rearrested on 19 new charges after Brandon police say their investigation found hundreds of videos and images of child sexual abuse on his devices. 5 additional child victims have been identified. A 23-year-old appeared in court yesterday on child pornography, luring, and sexual assault-related charges.
The Upper Ohio Valley Sexual Assault Help Center is shining a light on the dangers of sharing their child's description. Sharing these personal details about your child and your family can make you more vulnerable to online solicitation. SAC wants to remind families that sharing a photo of their child and their back-to-school gear, make sure to exclude the school name, teacher's name, favorite items, school or sports logos.
Of course, we want to celebrate the big pieces of our children and when they start school, and we want pictures. When we think about people that sexually harm, they are looking for information that might not necessarily seem important to you, but it's useful information to cause an increased vulnerability in that child and give them access, right? Gain access to them.
Carpenter says making sure your posts are private is a good practice to get into when sharing personal information. And if you still want to share the first day of school picture board, just blur out the personal information about your child.
A Jackson man pleaded guilty Tuesday afternoon to 3 felony counts of child sexual exploitation after a November of 22 cyber tip alerted Teton County investigators to the videos. According to the documents filed in court, 3 videos with child sexual abuse material involving prepubescent boys were transferred and retained in November in a Snapchat account belonging to this guy, Michael Patrick Adams, a 61-year-old. The videos, which ranged from 20 seconds to 73 seconds in length, were still there on January 30th when officers served a search warrant of his home and devices. Adams has been in jail since his arrest in February. In a plea agreement signed August 16th, Adams pled guilty to 3 felony counts. 2 counts for possessing exploitative material and 1 count for distributing it. The videos detectives found involved prepubescent boys engaged in sexual acts. He said, "I copied it and I passed it on to another person." That's according to Adams himself in court on Tuesday. He acknowledged that he knowingly placed one of the videos into the Snapchat app for distribution. Both sides will present sentencing arguments in 2 weeks at a September 12th hearing scheduled at 9 a.m. in Teton County District Court.
When a child experiences trauma, they can be stripped of their ability to imagine. But imagination is colors. All the colors. Imagination is freedom. And whatever you want it to be. But a child without imagination is not a child at all. Will you help defend our right to imagine?